Hey, you guys, this is Tired Goth. I'm back on live. I'm taking a quick break from talking about negative trust and going into some of my other technology courses and things. So it should be fun. How are you all doing today? Everyone's good, I hope. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Oh, that's so fun. That is so cool. Hey everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for contributing to my live sessions. I'm so grateful for you being here. It means the world to me, honestly, that you show up and you do what you do. So like my earlier live was, me kind of It's good to see you here. Thank you for joining the live. The Eclectic Mind of Kelly. Very nice to meet you. I was just doing a live on one of the courses that I teach in negative trust. So this is kind of like a downtime, kind of rewind sort of vibe. It's really cozy. It's good to have you all here. Thank you. Thanks so much. So how's everyone feeling about the chat? Make sure to tap that screen like this. Tap the screen to send me likes. I love when you send me likes because that gives me way more hearts. Thank you for joining, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is the second session of the live. Thank you for being here. So the earlier session, as I said, was a choice that I made to discuss some of the more private and intimate elements of the negative trust class that I teach. As you all know, I'm a survivor of human trafficking, and I integrated all of the knowledge that I gained as a person who was trafficked to not only write a book and publish it myself through my own publication, but I also teach class courses that are defensive in nature and supersede the tech environment. It's not something that is solely applied to technology, but can be very, very potent in a technology integrated environment for the simple reason that it integrates. Thank you so much for the hearts on this live. Thank you. It integrates one's intuition and intuitive reasoning with the environments that they are projected onto as impulses, as feelings, as things that you would be concerning yourself with. So it's always good to have an integrated approach to things like this. It's always good to assess threats as accurately as possible, but you also don't want to go overboard when you're talking about these types of things, because there are people who get hypervigilant and, leap off the deep end and say, I know exactly what I'm talking about based on intuition alone, and that's how a lot of people get unnecessarily injured. Like, I was in a position where I was actually attempting rescues on my own because when I was contacting the authorities to assess and handle the threats, I realized they weren't paying full attention. So I'm coming from a bit more of an experienced place and position where what it is that I saw and experienced was instead documented for its more intimate details and what it is that needed to be assessed to best warn people, to assure that they knew what they were talking about, what they were doing in the circumstance, and what they would need to look out for, really, just what it is that would integrate their presence and their abilities the same. So it's crucial, it's important, but it's a life-saving device. It's important to know that you're at the heart of a lot of really cool decisions and really, really massive applications of details. But in addition to this, in addition to the class courses I just pitched, I also want to talk with you a little bit about crucial technology that could save your life, and I'll tell you why. Give me 1 second. Just gather my tech here. Okay. All right. So, while most of you probably have a desktop computer or a laptop at home, this is going to be part of what I teach in my classes. It's integrating your technology with your motif, your motive, and what it is that you want to do with yourself and your technology. Okay? So here's the thing. When you're outdoors, we want to talk about obfuscation, right? This is part of my technology course. It's part of the negative trust thing, but I'm also linking it into some practical applications and tips that you can use to assess threats around you and to figure out where you fit in as the person who is in a territory where this is necessary to know what to do. I'm going to explain something to you. This is a phone. You've probably seen it on the TikTok shop. Yes, it's the foofy viral phone, right? This is it. The reason why this is important and a crucial part of this day and this explanation is your environment will actually be the deciding factor as a territory to what it is you are able to do without getting noticed. Now, why don't you want to be noticed in some situations, right? You don't want to be noticed because if you are noticed by a threat, you will be called out for things that you were not doing. Okay? Now, here's the thing. If someone sees you just puttering around on your cell phone and doesn't realize you have a whole bunch of apps that connect you to internet software like IRC or a terminal that you can use to connect to things, a port scanner. If you don't look like you're using hardware that can do that, you are probably going to be evading a lot of threats in your environment. And the reason why is because technological threats usually look the part before they become the part. So if you're obfuscating, especially if you're on a mission to figure out someone's IP address because you suspect that they're using their tech to abuse children, big example of why you would even be doing such a risky thing in the first place. This is the type of thing that you would be going for. Now, here's the thing. This integrally is not a secure device. I'll tell you why. The foofy phone, as much as I love it, as cute as it is, and as good of a 2G service that this is way too flashy. In order for this to become an effective device, you would need to turn off literally every LED on the thing. Or, alternatively, you would be able to use this to blend in at an arcade. You would not be able to use that to blend in anywhere, really, unless there were already many shiny, flashing, distracting lights there, okay? This is the all-winner A133P quad-core Cortex mini netbook, right? It's a 10-inch netbook. Why am I bringing this up? If you use something like this in plain sight, people are going to think probably two things about you, okay? And this is based on personal experience. They're either going to say, oh, wow, what a cute device. You must be so nerdy. Can it play games? They're going to warm up to you because of the color. It's a healing color. It's pink. It's cute. It's non-threatening relatively, right? A person who understands what a netbook is able to do when it's programmed properly is probably going to look at you and think that you are a threatening person. And thank you for joining my live. The reason why you're going to be looked at as a potential threat is because not only do you have the hardware, but you also have the appearance of someone who doesn't use that kind of hardware, right? So someone is going to say, okay, that's a misalignment for something, and that could be on purpose. So I might want to be careful about that one. Okay. This, personally, is also a very effective way to draw cute attention and not threatening attention because of the shape, the non-edgy kind of presentation of this. And also the fact that it's portable, it's easy to carry around. It is not something that you would necessarily be gauged for as a threat. So if you were using this device to snoop the IP address of a person, theoretically, this is for entertainment purposes only, I'm not encouraging you here, but if you were using a device like this to snoop around and tag someone who you had serious thoughts about, like, feeding their information to the police because, this is what it is that is happening and you're concerned, like, these would be your tools. You want to be hidden in plain sight. Your daughter says I have a good personality. I'm grateful. Thanks. Okay, moving on to the next tool here. Let's see. Okay, two things. Two things, actually. This is hilarious that I have this ready too. There's something specific that I'm looking for here. Hold on a second, everyone. I'm specifically looking for. There you are. Hey, okay. Sorry for the interruption. The phone went dead. That's funny. But yeah, okay. So what it is, I don't know if you guys were paying attention to the fact that the phone actually shut off, but I was looking for a device specifically. But here's the thing. Okay. Another thing that you want to focus on is the smaller your technology is and the more unassuming it is. For example, if you see one of the shows that I posted where I have a phone that's about this big, literally the size of this half of this screen here. It's like this. It operates fully functionally as a phone, and it's about the size of a Tic Tac. It's very unassuming. It's black. It's actually what I was searching for before, and I wasn't able to find it. However, it is a very useful device. The reason why I say it's useful is because what it does is it dials out similarly to this on a non-3G network. It's a 2G phone. Okay, 2G means simplified calls, international SIM cards and calling. You can probably take this phone around the world with you with little to no impact on its service, whatever it is you're doing. Like, it's an easy phone to take with you internationally. And you can also get compatible international SIM cards to use with it. It's good for travel. You need to know your environment and your territory, right? So this is good for travel. This one here, the Foofy phone, as well as the black Tic Tac phone that I just discussed with you. This device also, going back to this laptop here, with respects to technology, this is also a good laptop for travel because this can fit in a purse. This is barely, this is barely the width of my chest, right? And this can fit in a purse. This is a device that you would want to take with you if you were traveling anywhere, needed to get work done, and needed a quick connection to a Wi-Fi hotspot. It's unassuming, it's pink, it's unbothersome, it's very lightweight. It's not going to interfere with what it is you're doing, and it's probably not going to break in the case that you're taking it anywhere with you, which is rather the point of doing certain activities with the technology that you do. You want things that are durable. You want to be able to stead your course. You want to be able to do what it is that you're doing in any operation without issue. And with limited exposure to what it is your methods or your attitudes really are with respect to this, because even if you're a good guy, you're going to have bad guys trying to figure out what you're doing. So you don't necessarily want to have any kind of inference to your tasking or anything that you're doing that would give you away. That would give away your position as somebody who is, like, trailing them for their IP addresses or potentially like pushing certain information out into their algorithms to get them to latch on, and it has like an embedded code or something inside of it, so that when they click on it, you then have a trail to all the other intel that they're looking at on their machine. Their information pretty much gets fed to you at that point. So I just want to show you, right? I want to show you how your technology obfuscates what you're doing. This machine doesn't look like it can run a TermUX terminal, but it does. And the reason why it's able to do that is because it is pre-programmed through, the user knowledge to be able to do things like that and to, create less of a threat of detection by being used that way. So the appropriate presentation by being present as a cute pink box that I'm able to type into. So this is the Barbie laptop pretty much. And it can be used and programmed as such in order to, create better circumstances for what it is you're doing. The tangible effect, and this is important, the tangible effect of aesthetics is usually how people react to what aesthetic you hold. So for example, I'm just going to tie my hair up here because it's getting in my face. The way that this tends to be is a person's reaction to the type of technology you're using can also make or break the type of experience you have as the user of said tech, no matter what you're doing. However, you also want to make sure that you're not abusing this, because this is something meant to obfuscate you for doing good for people. So if you are, for example, in a situation where you're going into a threat scene and you want to be as cutesy pootsy as possible so no one actually comes to attack you as a threat, you want something like this. If you want to make sure that you are inviting non-threatening vibes, mostly you want to be able to kind of introduce what it is that you're doing in such a way where it's not frightening the people that you are actually there to threaten. Because here's the thing, the reason you would be threatening anyone or presenting yourself as a threat is because those people have horribly bad intentions for what it is that other people would be doing in their innocence. That is a reason you would effectively want those people nullified from the environment. While I would like to co-host with you, thank you for inviting me. I am running a show here. It's one of those things too where it's the more attractive your hardware is, the less threatening you appear when you use that hardware to effectively change the course and the trajectory that those bad people are on, right? So it's sort of the way that women dress very cute when they're about to, ask for a lot of money or something partially deceptive that way. This is in essence the type of mentality that some people have when choosing their hardware to do especially hard tasks or to participate in especially difficult operations, because the operation itself is already dangerous. So you want to kind of obfuscate your own participation in that completely so that you don't actually hurt yourself and that you get your job done. That's what you want to do. And I'm rather enjoying my morning coffee here. It's just 5 minutes before we hit noon, so I'm making pretty good time here. Excellent. So keep in mind that these are tactics. They are not be all end alls, but they are things that you would be able to utilize as a person who was doing your best to, connect with your most effective self in these types of circumstances. Also, the second thing that I wanted to impart to you is if you have a rubber ducky, this is your best friend under crisis. Harvard professors themselves actually recommend that you take some sort of a ducky and place it onto your device to ask it questions as sort of a bounce back or a sounding board type of method, because your projection of yourself onto that ducky will allow the burden of your question to resolve back to you in the way of an answer, mostly because Ducky is your BFF. Ducky's your best friend. So this is my money ducky. This is my shiny money ducky. Everyone should have one, but I call him the money ducky because he's like super glittery and beautiful. But yes, this is my buddy. I leave him on my desk and on my laptop, and I talk to him all the time. And he is the person that I communicate with. He's my buddy. He's the buddy I communicate with whenever I have a trial, a tribulation, or a question to ask. Now, you don't need to keep a ducky on your desk. You can keep your ducky in your purse. You can keep your ducky anywhere in your environment. For example, this is what my ducky setup would look like. I would have, my chat window and my ducky. And why would this be? Well, even professors, thanks so much. Even professors will have questions that they'd like to resolve for the better of the tutorials that they present to their students. And that is exactly what an effective method like this is for. And I thank my Harvard certification educators and tutors for imparting me to such a brilliant course resolution. And I haven't forgotten it since I took those courses. I took them in 2021 via mobile, no less. So I was taking Harvard, alma mater grade courses on my cell phone and I passed them. I passed the audited courses to the fullest extent of their course. I guess you say course provision, right? Because the audited courses don't actually have the full thorough grading system, but you do still have to do the bulk of the work. It's worth at least 50 to 60% of your grade in some cases. So I fulfilled each of those courses to the extent of their provision, and I passed. So I went to Harvard, essentially. It was through the edx.org program, and I mean, it's amazing. But let's see. So I just wanted to, if you're trolling in the chat, please do not do that. This is a professional course here. Yeah, with respect also to the tools that you're using, some are technological, right? Some are machines. This is a machine. This is a machine. This is a mental tool, but we're going to get into another mental tool here that is crucial, actually very crucial for the development of your skill set in an environment where you could be facing a threat. Now, here, there we go. Okay. Some comments in this live were filtered to protect the community's experience. Is there anything being shared in this live here that would need to be protected from a community's user experience? Because that's not really what I'm here to be promoting here. Please be kind to my audience. Okay, this is a deck of Lenormand cards. It's fitting that a great big heart is on the bottom because I'm a great big jovial loving person, but great big loving jovial personality, I should say, because I am actually quite slight. I look very, I don't look too brolic, but yeah. These cards can actually help you identify threats, and I will show you how, which indicators, right? Because we do threat intel here. We do threat intel of all kinds, and I am literally like the poster child for threat assessment via psychic wares. So, psychic wares and also integrating them with technology, like get at me. We should talk if you do this too, because I can help you. I can teach you, rather. So, okay. This card, I want to do a quick dissection here. This card, for example, this is the card of both success and luck in endeavors, but it's also a card that could be an indicator of sexual interactions. Okay. I would like to elaborate in which contexts. This could technically be referencing a sexual situation, whether or not it is legal or illegal, consented to or not consented to, or posing a threat or not posing a threat to someone's livelihood regardless of age or circumstance, okay? This to me says a threat. Do you want to know why? Because the highlight of this card, while it looks like this is a full picture, as the cards are showing themselves to me, the reader, what is standing out to me is this, the two bulbs, the two, blooming petals together, which represents very sexual, creative energy, right? With the tree in reverse, the tree is a sign of health. It regards matters of the health, the wellness, the body, the physical state of a person, and then also this, the messenger of this. The messenger. This card, the clover, the tree, and then the rider, with the emphasis for me as I'm seeing it being here in the catecheus, which is again another medical reference, coupled by this as the base card. There could be news indicated in this reading here about the health of someone's sexuality or the health of someone who is engaged in sexual activity being an impact or a factor into the health of the sex that they're having. This could be that a person is mentally ill. This could be that a person is physically ill. This could be that a person has an ill predisposition to their sexual preferences. It could be that someone is being framed for this with the aspect of communication being the focus here as well. Okay? And these cards here at the bottom with the key and the heart are indicators of this person's success in either communicating this to someone, to set someone up. This could be success in getting someone sick. This could be success in having illicit relationships. This is not a good combination of cards if we are talking about a threat, because the key is a success for the threat. However, it is a good sign if we are talking about threats, which are mentioned here in this general collection of energy, the clover and the unhealthy tree, with this mention here, with the rider, the news, the communication, the current state of communication, the current effect of the communication, having success in love, having success in appreciation. With the rider, the key, which represents success, and also certain numbers, like these numbers at the top, 1 for the rider, 33 for the key, and then 24 for the heart. This is also something that could be helpful as a discussion. This is also an indication that someone had a falling out that was successful because it could have uncovered a threat regarding the context that's being uncovered here. So, do you see, while I won't be able to teach you how to read, perhaps, the cards, because the cards will show themselves to you based on what images or what parts of the images you gravitate to. That is a solely personal, solely spiritual experience that no one can actually do for you or make happen for you. But what they can do is teach you some keywords that might help you decode some things and keep you safe from harm in the case that you have the points of reference. So this is the type of thing that I'm actually able to teach you in any of my classes. If you'd like to book with me, you can book me through TikTok. They are $99 a class per hour, and it is a very dense hour. You will be learning a lot. You will be walking away from that class talking to everyone you know about how cool that class was to take and all of the things that you thought you could never learn from there coming to the open and being, easy to figure out and unlock for you. And you will want to book again, is what I'm saying, because it's like an endless flow of information that will provide you so much insight, and like bring your friends, you can bring anyone you'd like. You will always have something to take away from this class, no matter how many times you order it, no matter who you gift it to. It will be a positive experience for you all. So I just want to say thank you for tuning in, for sharing your hearts, for allowing me to chat about it a bit. And without too much focus on, like, you know, the general thing of it being like technology based or psychically based or what have you. Like, I just want to know what some of you are thinking and feeling when you come into this information, because for some people I've noticed it's a great shock to have access to this information and to feel like they actually have power over the answers to their lives, because it's actually conveying to them what it is that they needed to know in order to make decisions with the most adept kind of function, you know. And this is something that is crucial when it comes to assessing certain things in your life for the threats that they pose. Because if you are present, thank you for joining the live. Thank you for being here. Thank you for liking the live. It's one of those things where, you know, when you actually join a class and you're learning these things with each other, the output of your students, the output of your conversations also factors in so greatly with what it is that's going on. And I say this because, like, everyone is going to have their data set of experience, their personally applied circumstances, the things that they've learned, and their sets of keys, right? Be they emotional keys, intellectual keys, spiritual keys, whatever the function or the applied fact is, whatever has worked for them can also work for you if you ever come to a point where those exchanges and those points of reference become useful to you, become applicable to you. So I just want to convey to you, okay. Very confusing, very confusing messages in the chat here, but thank you, because I am trying to reach a goal of over 100 comments in the course, so just keep saying things, I guess. And you know, my perspective of this is, whenever you are but yeah, so like the whole concept of, you know, the whole concept of knowing these things intuitively builds a basis for applying them physically, applying them tangibly, so that the threats that you encounter are actually mitigated by your psychic impulses and intuitions. It's very important to know how to do that. And I've always said this, and I have always integrated this kind of thing as far as I knew how to apply that knowledge, you know, especially since some of the incidents, like negative trust became a real point of reference and a key for examination for me. Thank you for joining my live. Tap that screen to show your love for me. I love you too. Thanks for joining my live. Tap that screen. So, yeah, it's basically like whatever it is you go through as a person, forming points of reference for, you know, what it is that is happening in your life. There are so many tools, so many keys, so many points of reference, so many abilities that you have to really decipher your threats and point them out to what they are, for what they are, and letting your goal of living a safe and comfortable life become a priority, because it's no longer an issue for you to know what it is you're seeing, looking at, looking for, what it is you're witnessing. You know, it's important to have these points of reference. It's important not to ignore what it is that you're noticing. It's important also to remain as honest and integrous in your abilities as possible, because the more honesty you breed with your being considered, you know, you'll have you'll have a good relationship with yourself and others around you. You'll have a good focus point, especially. So with that said, I guess that kind of ties up that little blurb there. I just wanted to kind of convey what it is that, I've noticed people might experience. They might, want to know more about why they should do things a certain way and why things should be the way that they are. And it's like when you really integrate yourself, into a life path that you are fully invested in, everything else becomes no bullshit. Or if it is bullshit and you're too polite to say so, it will fall away from you and lead way to the answers, because this is a season of answers. This is a season of inspiration and inspired action for the better good. So it's not something that you really want to mess with in terms of what you're seeing, what you're knowing. You want to be as open and genuine as possible, because while people will play around and like try to do certain things, it's not something you necessarily want to like make a point of doing. Okay, so I do information security, and the first thing I'm going to tell you that if you are a person in your 50s that is considering yourself giving me high compliments by telling me your age and telling me that you and your wife are watching, I would never recommend that you share your age online, just because that's not a very smart idea. It's not a good idea to kind of put yourself in a position to become identifiable if you want to become equally useful in certain tactics. But I wanted to let you know that I'm grateful for the appreciation of the live. And if you are interested in booking a class with me, send me a message. I noticed you in one of my other lives. And if that's what you're actually doing here, then let me know. Just book the live and we'll take it from there. Okay. So I mean, when it comes to threat identification and threat assessment, it's just a mixed bag every time. It's like looking into a plastic bag full of an assortment of candy and being like, pick one, pick a threat to your health, and you kind of just go from there. But it is favorable to know what it is you're getting into before you try and dive head first. Like, you don't want to be inaccurate in your assessments. And even if you are as accurate as possible, there is still going to be like a 30% error that is possible in that kind of situation. So even with 70% accuracy, you don't want to pounce on things until you for real know what's going on. And I say this because it leaves you open to liability. It leaves you open to, situations that could prove to be inaccurately embarrassing. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to invite something into your circle, your aura, your mode of operation if you have viable proof, like real viable proof that something has happened to compromise you. Right? You want to keep those people, those things, those circumstances, those plots at a distance, because the distance there is what allows you to simultaneously observe and not compromise your own dealings. I say this because there are a lot of people who set people up on purpose. I have had that happen to me. I have experienced what that's like. I know the types of people who do that, and I know that they are banking, they are expecting not to have any type of trace back to them in their negative behavior, and their desires to set someone up lead back to them. But they do lead back to them. It's actually quite easy to figure out where those connections are if you are intuitively honed. And, I myself, as a person who teaches these classes in negative trust and threat assessment, intuitive reasoning, and all the things that back it, I have a very good sense of what it is that I'm dealing with, whether or not I say so. I will sit back and let the information flow. That's a part of your honing as a person. You'll see how I work that out with you in those classes. And in the case that you choose to book one with me, feel free to book by filling out the form and making a request, or simultaneously, you can tap that screen, show that you're here. I will say hello to you. If you're in here and you've joined the live, thank you so much for being here. And I'll say hi here in the case that I haven't actually gotten any of your attentions that way. By pressing the physical button next to your names. But yeah, if you're interested in booking these classes, you can message me and set up an appointment with me. It's just the same. I'm perfectly happy to meet and greet with you online. And I host these remote courses to sort of encourage this type of thing, because I wrote an entire book on this. I write a book series. I've written, basically almost the second book in this series completely, thoroughly, like through and through. It's almost finished and ready for production at this point. So while I have been invested and I have, taken the pains and attentions to make this information available to the public, it is painstaking to identify each type of threat accurately, because these threats are ever evolving. This is another thing that I wanted to talk with you all about, right? When we are assessing threats, we are assessing information, data pools, any type of information that has to do with, your presentation of self, right? Your presentation of your ethics, your motives, your abilities, your work itself. In assessing yourself, your desire for input received and output provided, it comes down a lot of the times to what it is you're expecting to come of the situation in a positive light that will impact everyone in a good way. Is it at the sacrifice of anyone? It shouldn't be. It should be your own behavior, your own assessment, your own work finalized. And when you're talking about threat assessment in general, you're talking about a really seedy territory. You're talking about threats. You're talking about direct and sometimes indirect, tangible and sometimes intangible impacts on life, any life, your life, my life, the lives of innocent people, the lives of, I'm an innocent person, so I take this to heart. The lives of whoever it is that's around you, your pets, for heaven's sake, like anyone, anything, your plants. I would be upset personally if my plants were being threatened. I'm just saying. Anything that you're trying to cultivate for yourself, if it is under any type of threatful impact, the goal is to assess it the most accurately and the most effectively to prevent harm, to be proactive, right? So to be proactive sometimes is to create a sort of value system by identifying what could be under threat, and then, because people have their own implied attachments to these situations, circumstances, relationships, anything. But what's important to focus on is these circumstances, when under attack, can be under attack in so many ways, by so many forms of impact, that to put them all together is what creates this need to kind of really comb over each set of data and make it as concise but precise as possible at the same time. I say this because you could have tangible attacks and intangible attacks. You can have attacks that you can physically see and assess for what they are. And then you also have attacks that are made to look invisible, because it makes it harder to detect an attack if it's not visible, if it's not noticeable. Like noticeable in a way where everyone at once can witness it the same way, right? Now, this is why accounts of certain circumstances and I guess you could say moments are very important, because witnesses to these accounts will be able to confirm information among one another, among themselves, and then for one another as well. These joint accounts of information are crucial. But what I will also say is, if you are in a situation where you yourself cannot tangibly identify your threat, it doesn't mean you're not being threatened. It means that a little more research into the type of circumstance that you are being impacted by should probably be done. And I say this because in the realm of the spiritual, a lot of things are unseen, and they are also disregarded because, keep in mind, in the court of law, for example, you will have arguments over tangible goods. While the spirit and the offense of the spirit is not tangible in nature, typically, it does not mean that a person is not impacted by the forceful impact of an attack on their spirit. So how did they get impacted, right? What did it cause in the way of a tangible grounding of the damage? So sometimes you say, like, you have people who say their emotional damage caused them harm. The loss of their ability to cope and cooperate in certain ways was a loss taken due to, intangible things that had happened, like emotional situations and what have you. There are many justifications that a person will make to try to explain their circumstances in a way that shows that they were impacted in the court of law, right? But what I am expressing here is the fact that when you have intangible but very felt evidence of a spiritual attack, you want to document that. You want to document it because this is proof that someone was tampering with your energetic field. Whether or not that is quantifiable yet by a number in a courtroom does not speak to the impact that it would have on you yourself due to what it did to your ability to thrive, to healthily establish yourself as a person, to protect your privacy and your innocence, to protect yourself. Protection is the key here. Proactivity is the key here. We don't want to wait for reactive solutions to assess and deny threats of their access. But while there are so many combinations of intangible and tangible attacks, we need to be very assertive in making sure that these types of things are not, they're not impactful on innocent and vulnerable people. Those people do not deserve anything like that near them. But those are the people that these people prey upon. It makes it so much worse for them. So this is a guide and effectively a common solution that I have put together for at the very least, common points of reference that can be used to protect people and to assure that they are not put in the harm of any abuse. They're not put in the way of any harm whatsoever. It's just, if there's something that I can do to prevent that, I will. That's me. That's how I do these things. And that is the approach that I would be taking, because this is not just, a plug for a class. Like this is a job. This is a livelihood. It's a career. It's a calling. It's a ministry. My ministry is helping people. So that's what I'm here to do. That's what I help with. And I just hope that it proves to be useful to the right people. So with that said, I'm going to invite some more G7 members to join as guests. I'm so grateful that you would be here. Thank you for joining. Thank you for... It reminds me of that cartoon. Like, what was it? I want to say... It was Bob's Burgers, like, thank you for loving me. Thank you for being here. But, that's also not a copyright of mine. I'm not selling that information. That's TM for the creators of that show, Bob's Burgers. I'm not, I'm not the owner of that intel, but I am the owner of No Topic Publication and Press and the CEO and the owner of Academia Gothica and Kissnet Superset. Thank you so much for your contributions, your attributions. Thank you for the credit to my agency, and thank you for all of the good things that you create for me when you book my classes. Thank you so much for bringing me such a wealth of positive information, positive light, positive healing vibes, and my ability to reach you all in the best way possible so that we all have a good income. So for those of you who are interested in booking, you can also book by phone. You can dial me out at 929-443-8916. That is my phone number. It is also present in my YouTube channel information, and it's also present in some of the videos that I have on my profile. So if you are G7 and you're here to like go crazy and promote any of my videos into viral oblivion, then I guess you can find that information in the videos that you'd be perusing anyway. But again, my phone number for contacting me to book a class is 929-443-8916. 929-443-8916 is the number that you would call in order to contact me, and you can even leave a message. It's pretty like plain. You don't need to do anything crazy. You can text it, you can call it, and inquire about the classes. If you call, you'll get to a voicemail that will explain that yes, I am the owner, creator, and CEO of said companies, No Topic Press, Academia Gothica, and Kissnet Superset. And these are distribution companies for literature, for memes and content, written content as well, and also publication and press for you to submit your editorials to in order to be published. I also publish my own work, and I have proof of this publication in the form of my first book, Privacy Actually, which is a helpful handbook, pretty much, for the assessment of threats, where they come from, what they look like sometimes, and how to avoid you yourself from falling into any types of these threats for energy harvesting, trafficking, threatful income theft, and any type of scams that you or your family could become prey to, regardless of your age or status in the communities. However, there are status-based attacks that are also highlighted in this book to encompass what it is that people tend to go for and who they tend to attack to assure the easiest getaway in the case that they are career criminals and do not really want to do the work of just getting a more effective job and working within a healthier job environment. Some people are, really interested in committing to crime, and I don't see life that way. I don't see very many nice outcomes that have ever happened for people, even in passing, that I've encountered who chose those types of things. So I just want to give you a very positive spin on some experiences that I myself could attest are not necessarily good for you. I'm not a career criminal per se, but I've done enough research to know what these struggles may really look like for them at the end of the day. And if we can all come together and share what's left of our very closely knit experiences with one another as human beings, to share with one another, to impact each other well, and to create peace, harmony, and safety for one another, this is the goal that we can all benefit from. So I just wanted to put that out there, that's what I'm here to do. If you would like to share, any type of, donations or book orders with me, definitely contact me, let me know. And, oh, thank you for the messages. I see the likes that you sent to my post. Thanks so much. And yeah, okay. Yeah, this is a live session, not a message board to text your personal feelings on. So, kindly remain professional here. Thank you. And with that said, this is the end of the post. And thank you for joining my live. I hope to see you soon. I'll be on later. And I am actually marketing some other things that I did. You can see more of these on the posts, but yeah, these are the soaps. I just marketed them on the Patreon. Go check them out and let me know if you're interested in buying them. I love you guys. See you later.